Hi friends, and welcome back to Finishing the Score, where you can follow along with my musical theater writing and songwriting journey, and I share the resources and tips I'm learning along the way. In today's episode, we will be talking about rhyme, its use in musical theater, and ways that you can fix any tricky lines that you're having trouble rhyming in your songs. Before we get started, let's get a quick project update. So here on my musical, The Sigma 5 Heist, I have made some progress this week on Do We Have a Connection, which is the song in which the heist team gets recruited. On the EP, I have officially completed a second song, second double bar line earned. This is the song we'll be talking about today, and it is called Just Begin. At the beginning of the week, I had basically assumed that Just Begin was done because all of the melody was there, all the chords were there. There were just a few tricky lines for which I hadn't quite found the right rhymes yet. And it actually took a surprisingly long time to fix those tricky lines, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Let's take a quick tangent to define the difference between perfect rhyme and imperfect rhyme. A perfect rhyme occurs when you've got two words with the same vowel sound and consonant sound at the end, but two different consonant sounds at the beginning, like date and wait. An imperfect rhyme is a type of rhyme which doesn't meet all of those conditions. So I put together a handy chart for us to talk about different kinds of imperfect rhymes here. So starting at the top, we have, in order of more stable to less stable, we have perfect rhyme all the way down to consonance rhyme. Andrea Stolpe compares using only perfect rhymes to only using root position major chords. There's so many other different colors and combinations and feelings out there with the different chords that you can create. And using only perfect rhymes in your song is very similar to using only root position major chords. You're limiting yourself to something that feels very stable. If you are writing a song that's about a very unstable situation, you might actually find that using an imperfect rhyme is better for your song. There is a fierce debate in the musical theater world about whether using imperfect rhyme is acceptable. The primary arguments in favor of using imperfect rhyme are that it helps you avoid cliches and it helps you ensure that you find the words that you want to convey your meaning. But the primary argument against using perfect rhyme are that it can sound lazy and that it's harder for the listener to understand on first listen. Also, historically, most American musicals are written with perfect rhyme, so the listeners of musicals expect that and will be more likely to notice if you use an imperfect rhyme. I personally like to strike a balance on this by using perfect rhymes, family rhymes, and additive and subtractive rhymes, which tend to be the more stable of the imperfect rhyme types. So let's move into talking about how to fix problematic lyric lines. In order of importance, a lyric line must communicate the meaning and tell the story. It must match the meter, and 3, it must match the rhyme scheme. It's easy to come up with a lyric line that matches 1 or even 2 of these things, but to match all 3, that's where the puzzling aspect really comes into play, figuring out what meets all 3 of these requirements. So I've assembled a list of 4 tools that I tend to work through if I'm trying to solve problematic rhyme lines. The first thing I would ask is, 1, can you skip the rhyme in that location? Reasons that you might want to do this are to create a sense of instability, or if you want to spotlight that particular word. If the listener is expecting a rhyme, and it doesn't rhyme, they're actually going to listen more closely to that word. And so if it's an important word with an unstable feeling, you might want to consider doing no rhyme at all. Number 2, can you use an imperfect rhyme in this location? Using an imperfect rhyme feels less stable than a perfect rhyme, and depending on what your song is about, you may actually find that that works to your advantage. Number 3, can you find a synonym for the word that you're rhyming with so that you can rhyme a different sound? This is where a thesaurus comes in handy. And the last one is, can you change the meaning of the line? That might allow you to open up the word options that you're considering rhyming. All right, let's look at one of the problematic lyric lines from Just Begin and walk through how I solved this particular one. So I have the lyrics here along with the rhyme scheme and the number of stresses. I've highlighted in red the line that was problematic. It's surface cool to the touch. I wanted it to rhyme with a worthy centerpiece and to carve my masterpiece. But right now, it has the right number of stresses and it had the meaning that I was looking for, but it didn't have the rhyme. In the verse, the story is that a sculptor has just received a new piece of stone for their studio, and they're very excited and proud to work on this particular piece of stone. So working through our tools, I considered skipping the rhyme here, but what that actually did was to create a spotlight on the word centerpiece, which I didn't want. I traced the lines with my fingertips. Its surface cool to the touch. The stone is standing high above me, a worthy centerpiece. You expect it to be much or such, something like that, but it doesn't, and so that dissonance lands on the ear, and that's actually not something that I wanted here, so I moved past that option. I explored imperfect rhymes as well, but I actually found it really hard to find imperfect rhymes that specifically carried the meaning that I wanted. I wanted something about the smoothness of the surface that the sculptor was touching, but I was having a hard time finding something that meant what I want. So then I considered replacing some of the rhyming words with something else, a synonym that has a different sound. But in this case, there's actually two words that I needed to rhyme with, centerpiece and masterpiece. And I don't feel very strongly about the word centerpiece, but I did really want the word masterpiece to be at the end because I felt that that was a very strong word and conveyed the meaning very strongly for what I wanted it to say. And so for that reason, I decided to keep the other words and not replace them with a synonym. And so that leaves me with the fourth option, which is to change the meaning of the line. And so instead of having a line where it's about the surface of the marble, I ended up finding the line, it's all the way from Greece. Greece rhyming with centerpiece and masterpiece. Now, it's not the exact same meaning that I had originally intended, but it's a meaning that supports the story of the song. It's about the importance of this stone and where it came from and what that means to the sculptor. So that's the thought process I worked through to figure out how to fix this particular line. And to close out, I wanted to share this week's resource of the week, which is called Rhyme Genie. It's a rhyming dictionary which is available for iOS or Windows. And so if we go over into the tool, we can type in any word. In this example, I'll go ahead and type in date. Hit enter, and you can see that it's got several columns here. It's separated by number of syllables, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And on default search, you get perfect rhymes, but you can use these particular buttons to either increase, in this case it gives you identity rhymes, all these things that have date in them, or decrease the stability of the rhyme. So if we go down, here we have family rhymes, and you can keep going down and down and down and find all sorts of different things that you can pick from. And that's it. If you have any other techniques that you like to use for solving tricky lyric problems, leave them in the comments below. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit that like button, and if you want to follow along with my songwriting journey, go ahead and hit subscribe. Alright, thanks, bye friends!